Wake up to reality. Nothing ever goes as planned in this accursed world. The longer you live, the more you realize that the only things that truly exist in this reality are merely pain, suffering, and futility.
All right, so we have put on our black Air Forces. This is the final part of our Uchiha character study. If you can see the title, see the picture of the video, we're doing Madara Uchiha, the ultimate villain of Naruto, regardless of what people say.
There's only, he is the villain. We don't acknowledge what happened afterwards.
So I'm Demetrius.
And I'm Demetrius.
And Meech presents
the Blerd City Podcast.
All right, so again, this is the third part of our Uchiha character study. We started off with Itachi, diving into his background, how he ended up deemed as a traitor, but ultimately stopping a war from happening. We then transitioned into Sasuke and his entire arc. That was definitely a weighty episode, just a lot to cover between both the first part of Naruto, then also Shippuden. Now we're covering Madara Uchiha. Again, we're starting chronologically within his life as we dive into it. So before we get into any of that, hit us with the legal spiegel.
The purpose of this podcast is to explore digital and print media. All sources we reference are owned by their respective companies, and our thoughts and opinions are strictly our own and reflect no biases or corporate agendas. Your discretion is advised.
All right, so again, with character studies, we always just like to break it down, their philosophies, their relatability, how they impact the main characters of the show, with this one being one of the more interesting characters because he was literally introduced at the very end of the series, but his impact is felt throughout the entire series, working in the background or if just like dropping hints. So Meech, what are kind of like your initial vibes of Madara? Because even with like an Itachi, where it was kind of like, oh, Sasuke eventually he has to get to Itachi, Madara was always kind of like even the higher boogeyman, where it's just like in passing though.
Yeah, he definitely was the boogeyman. Like we first hear a mention of him like at the end of part 1 at the Valley of the End, where the first Naruto and the second Naruto Sasuke fight really happened, and it's like, okay, who is this guy? And Sasuke like explains just a tiny bit about him, but yeah, it said once Shippuden happened, it became the Madara Fest. Like he's working in the background. You got a whole dude propagating his name. Culturally appropriating his name in order to continue the way.
In fairness, the person that did it was also an Uchiha.
Yeah, that's why I was about to say, wait, is it an appropriation if you're also an Uchiha and technically part of the same family? But you know what? No, we're not going to talk about that right now. But yeah, somebody misusing his name. Well, actually, It's not even misusing because he's doing exactly what the real one wanted. But
yes.
But yeah, so in any case, and then once you actually, because everybody thinks this other dude's like the actual him, so did we as the audience.
Yes.
And then you see the real one pop out. You're like, hey, whoa.
See, there are levels to this.
Whoa. Oh, snap. Hold on. It got real.
Yeah. So even my initial vibes of him, again, Valley of the End, just kind of like that cool image of him and Hashirama like opposing each other at the Valley of the End. You mentioned last week, even with the Nine-Tails Fox, and how when he saw Sasuke, like at the start of Shippuden, he was like, yo, you got the same eyes. Do you know Madara Uchiha? Which then ties in towards what we'll get into with this story. Definitely someone who you're like, oh, we won't see him, because I remember even in like the first Naruto when Orochimaru invaded, he brought back the first 2 Hokage, stopped the 4th Hokage, the 3rd Hokage stopped the 4th one from popping up, obviously, so they don't spoil. But then, those 2 didn't have a personality, which is really different from how the series kind of ends, and all of the resurrected ninja or reanimated ninja didn't have personalities and stuff like that. So Madara was definitely not someone that I thought would be brought back until, like you mentioned, where he was being teased with Toby and that transition.
Yeah. Like there was I can remember like the manga discourse is like, okay, how is this Madara, if he's this old, how is he running around? And like none of us question it too much apart from, okay, he has a Sharingan.
Mhm.
Okay, he can't be touched. Is this dude immortal? And then I see all the
Yes,
discourse by like, oh yeah, this is adult Sasuke from the future. I'm like, no, no, sorry, sorry,
it's
sorry.
too much.
All right, too much, too much. My bad, my bad.
All right, so we can jump into it. A lot of the initial starting, we're going to start with his childhood, as we've done with Sasuke and both Itachi. A lot of it is told through flashbacks, obviously because he was introduced at the very end of the series. So if you want to kind of touch on the Warring States period.
Yeah, so this again, like this backstory actually ties a little bit to the Sasuke episode where Hashirama, after being revived by Orochimaru at the behest of Sasuke, tells Sasuke about the history of the leaf, in which we again get the backstory of Madara, where he was born in the Warring States period, old back in the day. Madara and his siblings, like the Uchiha were always at war with them Senjus, them filthy Senjus, or should I say them Uchiha? Not, sorry. So,
Hatfield and McCoys.
yep. So pretty much because of this war, three of his siblings are already dead. Madara, like he's like it's only him and his younger brother Zuna. They're basically like neck, like they tied at the hip, got that brotherly bond. And actually like it showed like Madara, even as a child, is actually strong enough to take on full grown Senju men. But then of course, here comes some tragedy. As a child, he's chilling and he comes across a boy named Hashirama, and then they create like a little mini rivalry, which then grows to a full blown friendship. Hashirama and Madara, they're like pretty much connected, and they're like, oh yeah, they lost siblings. Oh, they're both like victims or perpetrators in this case in this war. But like they never like disclose like, oh yeah, we on opposite sides, even though they kind of figured they were on opposite sides.
Hmm.
And then of course it gets to the point, you know how it is with certain like star-crossed lovers tragedies, which is
Yeah.
kind of crazy because I mean, with the way Madara was acting later, it kind of,
Towards the end, yeah.
yeah, the way Madara was acting when Hashirama got revived, it is star-crossed lovers type deal. But yeah, it's like, oh yeah, like we want to like remain friends and be chill with one another, but the families, they like, nah, you can't associate with this filthy chick, or nah, you can't associate with that filthy Senju. They are enemies.
Hmm.
And because of that, Madara decides to like end his friendship with Hashirama just so he doesn't feel the pain over having to kill him in the future,
Hmm.
which the pain of that was enough for him to awaken his Sharingan.
Which is crazy. It's so crazy how trauma always awakens the Sharingan in a sense. But something else that, if we parallel this to Itachi, who was born during the Third Great Ninja War, is that both of them wanted to live in a world where children wouldn't have to fight. This is something that specifically Hashirama and Madara wanted. And then Itachi, he wanted to be a pacifist, but just being in all of the things that not just go into war in terms of winning and losing, but the politics behind it, the power dynamics and different things like that, and how it starts to change them. So, as you mentioned, once they end their friendship and now it's full blown, even their rivalry turns into full blown, now we have to beef, now we have to fight each other.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so basically from this point, they be fighting, they be beefing over the course of many years. At some point, Madara got the Mangekyo Sharingan. We never find out what was his trigger for that. Unlike the other people who've awakened Mangekyos, which I think for the exception of Shisui, but that's about it. But yeah, so like they be fighting like for decades, but interestingly enough, Madara could never beat Hashirama. He
So interesting,
like
yeah.
every single time they fought, Madara would always lose. But because Hashirama still feels that friendship with Madara, still considers him a brother, then he always spares him, lets him go. So and then the cycle keeps repeating where we go fight, Madara gets beaten, Hashirama spares his life, Madara gets away, rinse and repeat. And then it gets to the point where like over time, Madara and Hashirama end up becoming the leaders of their clans because they're obviously the most powerful of the
Yeah.
crew. and like, and it's like, oh yeah, hey, we're the leaders of our clans. We don't need to continue this cycle. We can like stop this fighting, says Hashirama. And Madara, like he's like, I don't know. And then like his own brother Izuna gets killed
due to
by Tobirama,
yeah,
the racist himself.
yeah.
Ooh,
That's really bad. Especially because Hashirama again was trying to lead that peace, but then Tobirama being who he is, so and then obviously killing the little brother of the. Did he know at the time? I can't recall if that was his brother.
Yes, he does.
Whew. So from there, I do know that essentially it's like, hey, the Uchiha realized they were on the losing side of the battle. Some of them defected. Madara pulled in all his forces for just like one more all-out attack. Didn't work because Hashirama was him and is him.
Also has the eternal Mangekyo by taking his deceased brother's eyes at this point.
True.
So
yes.
he still couldn't beat Hashirama.
Which is crazy how Hashirama was just like that strong. And then obviously we'll get to the end, but with him kind of not being on Madara's level, but I mean, Madara had like so many buffs and plot armor towards the end of the show. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So now, and then Hashirama pulls basically what Naruto pulls later to Sasuke. It was like, hey, he beats him. He has a chance to kill him. But he says, no. Like, if it came down to it between you and me, and I would kill myself to end the war. And Madara's like, all right, let's do this.
That resolve.
Yeah, that resolves like, okay, you wanted them. Like you wanted them ones. So at this point, this is where peace is established. They basically, that's when the Leaf Village is now fully created. Madara and Hashirama are basically the two leaders. They want to, again, establish peace. Everything's good. Of course, like those two are the most powerful to where like folks like Anoki, aka the future Tsuchikage, gets utterly decimated by the two of them, but and was forced to bend the knee to a real one.
Yes.
But then and then Hashirama was made the Hokage. To which Madara was like, I don't know about this. What happened? What about my peoples, huh?
Exactly.
Because all it takes is for one filthy Senju to become a leader, and then suddenly the rest of the Senjus will dominate and will make us second-class citizens. Oh, how right he was.
Number 2 Hokage. So it's also interesting with this, we see the difference in philosophy between the two. So Madara wants control. That's his form of peace. Both of them want peace. So Hashirama obviously wanting to go about it in what we would describe as a more delicate way, or smoother in a sense.
Yeah, much more peaceful, democratic way of peace.
Yes. Whereas Madara is like, if I control everything, there will be peace.
Much more authoritarian.
Exactly. So with that, as you mentioned, him becoming Hokage, but eventually Madara is able to get his hands on the stone tablet Zetsu, which he should not have gotten his hands on because it only led to bad things. So through this, he learns essentially the history of Shinobi. He learns about the six Sage of the Six Paths, right?
Basically, but we also need to remind you that like this stone tablet was constantly being altered by Zetsu in the interest of manipulating whoever reads it into going axe crazy.
Yes. So with that manipulation, as you mentioned, again, both of them want peace ultimately. All the the warring states into now being one village, wanting to have that peace between the two clans and everything. From there, he quote unquote learns that the cycle of peace has been a failed process throughout the history of Shinobi, and it's never going to essentially work. So this kind of, as you mentioned, drives him crazy. He tries to tell Hashirama this. He tries to tell his people that, anyone that will listen, and they're like, "Yo, you tripping, dog? You got to go." So with that, he essentially has to leave. Well, chooses to leave the village, but in the interim, constantly attacks the same village he wanted to bring peace through.
And then comes the big one where he finds the old nine-tailed fox, big good old Kurama, except we didn't know his name by the time. Actually, we do know his name by this point, but nobody in the history knew his name by this point. But the nine-tailed fox, and he says, "All right, Hashirama, run them ones. Well, I got these 9."
Crazy.
And like they fought basically so. They fought so intensely, like Madara using his Susanoo to cover the nine-tailed fox, all this good jazz. And they fought so bitterly that the Valley of the End gets created from their fight.
And a level of destruction.
I mean, hey, you're dealing with a giant kaiju being rode by an Uchiha who can also make another kaiju, fighting a Hokage whom said Uchiha could never beat. Also probably grew stronger over the years, able to create kaijus of his own.
Exactly.
It was war. And then, but is at this point that Hashirama actually kind of like somewhat realized, like, hey, my friend's basically like beyond redemption at this point. Like, I can't convince him. And rather than like, go with his own words that he mentioned back in the days, like, yeah, I'd kill myself if it stopped the fight. And he's like, no, you actually have to be the one to go. So he kills him. Hashirama kills Madara that day.
Or so he thinks.
So he thinks, because it turns out the Uchiha has an ability called Izanagi, which allows you to resurrect yourself or rewrite reality at the cost of one of your eyes.
Talk about plot armor.
I'm like, bruh.
So yeah, go ahead.
Oh no.
Yeah, just with that. Uses the Izanagi, which at this point is already established, through the Danzo fight with Itachi fighting Kabuto, and also, so we understand that Izanagi exists. So using that, he brings himself back to life. The black Zetsu is in his body, but he believes that is his own manifestation of will, that the black Zetsu exists. Through this, he also concocts the plan of the Eye of the Moon plan. He implants the Rinnegan into Nagato without his knowledge, so he could be later resurrected. And essentially through this time, he's just like biding his time. He uses Hashirama cells for his body because obviously he doesn't know. Well, one, he just resurrected himself back from the dead. Two, and in his weakened state, he doesn't know when he's going to come back. So using the Hashirama cells those decades later are able to keep him alive. So when we transition into Toby,
and also that's what gives him the Rinnegan in the first place, thereby negating the I had to lose my right eye, by the way. Yeah, he gets his right eye back just from getting the Rinnegan. I'm like, ain't this some...
Hey, man. This is oh my gosh, what's the villain in Jujutsu Kaisen?
Which one?
The one that's in Yuji.
Wait, the one that Sukuna?
Sukuna, yes. This is where the plot armor he adopted the plot armor from Madara when we get to the later seasons.
Ooh, hey. Oh yeah, so yeah, as you mentioned, like he transplants the Rinnegan to Nagato, so that way Nagato can use his power to revive him later. And he's like, okay, I need somebody to basically carry on my will while I die, like when I'm dead. So then there's the third Great Shinobi War. If you listen to our Obito episode, you know exactly what happens, where basically Madara finds basically a near dead Obito, like near dead young child Obito. He's like, okay, let me use some Hashirama cells, basically like fix you up, get you your get you right back right as rain, and don't mind this for this curse tag on your heart, in case you try to go against me later. But yeah, so essentially like he starts like whispering in Obito's ear, trying to corrupt him, convince him of his ideology. That's where the quote at the beginning of this episode comes from. And then he he basically orchestrates for Obito's love, Rin, to get kidnapped, have the three tails sealed in her, and then essentially like makes it so like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have it to where Obito sees her die and see her die at the hands of his best friend. He orchestrated all of that. He got some Eisen levels of
Insane.
planning and manipulation. And because of that, he was like Obito comes back basically broken. He's like, yeah, now you ready to be a real one. And he tells them about, the Sage of Six Paths, the Ten Tails, Cycle of Hatred, all that good jazz. And leaves behind black Zetsus and a bunch of white Zetsus. And he's like, all right. And as he dies, he tells them like, hey, you're Madara now.
Mm-hmm. And just with that, in his death, he kind of like he summoned the demonic statue of the Outer Path. Well, he did this before he died. He used that to connect himself, and then once he died, he disconnected himself. And just like you said, the way he manipulated Obito, there's no better pawn than one that chooses willingly to come to your side and follow you. So that's what he did instead of like having, obviously, Obito, forcing Obito to do it. So he, again, had his willing victim. So before that, before his real resurrection, we get into the Fourth Great Ninja War, where we touched on essentially one of the last 2 weeks where Kabuto does a flex on Obito, where he's like, hey, I know you're not the real Madara. I have him right here. That's how I know. So,
pulled up that fourth coffin and he's like, oh, who? And we were like, who is that?
Mm-hmm. So then with that, we have one of the meanest introductions in the show. The decimation of the allied shinobi forces. Again, Kabuto is like, during this time, he's teaming up with Obito. The Fourth Great Ninja War has already kicked off. So with that, he's like, oh, you know what? I'm kind of in danger. Let me summon Madara. So yeah, the dusting began. And it's so funny because Madara's like, yo, this ain't my real body. What is Obito doing?
It's like, what happened here? And then Kabuto's like, oh yeah, I restored you beyond your prime, and I decided to give you some extra modifications, if you will. It's like, boy, you think
why?
Like, it's like buff number 2. First buff, coming back as an Edo Tensei zombie, because we all see like what the effects of that was. Like, hey, you can't die.
Don't really feel pain.
You don't feel pain. You have near limitless chakra. And buff number 2, restore you beyond your prime. Like, sir. And we see those 2 buffs first-handed when he takes on an entire battalion by himself.
First it was hands. That's all he needed.
Yes, only hands. He killing folk. He kicked someone so hard, his head spun around 360 degrees. How do you do that? You be mocked. That's how.
Stealing tags, putting tags on people, blowing them up.
He uses one fire style jutsu, and it takes like 10 water style jutsu specialists to block it, and even then it creates meteors.
Oh my gosh.
And then he comes across Naruto, and it's like Naruto fighting him, and it's like, oh yeah, I got that Rinnegan too. Let me show you the power of a real god.
Yeah.
And then actually summons meteors.
So they stop the first meteor, and everyone's like, hooray.
And then drops another.
That was cool.
I'm like, whoa. I was like, hold on. This is the part where, like, normally, the villain's like, okay, you stop my attack. All right, let me try something else. He's like, nah. If it works once, it's gonna work again. Drop another.
I wonder if he could have summoned a third one.
He could have summoned a third one.
So that wipes out almost everybody.
And also, let's point to mention at this point, Gaara is there.
Yes.
They're fighting in a desert. He had home field advantage.
Washed.
It still got taken. And so, yeah.
So
Eventually at this point, this is where he goes and he ends up taking on The five fraud Kages. Oh, sorry. Five Kages.
Oh man. Yeah. Not good. So when fighting the Kage, initially he was unimpressed, and ultimately they had to team up. Really, the Kage was, dude, that dude was putting in work. I'm not gonna lie, for his age. I wonder what he was like in his prime. But even still, eventually Madara's like, okay, y'all showed me something, so let me show you something. Summons 25 clones, and then asks one of the coldest questions in anime.
Would you like these clones to use Susanoo or not?
Just destroy the Kage from there.
And it also goes like, hold on, what? It's like, why do each of us five Kage like get five of them? It's like, hold on. And then he goes, nah, because it was five Kages versus me versus one. So hey, y'all wanted to jump me, and now when I'm jumping y'all, oh, now it's not fair.
He used that Eren Yeager Uno reverse card.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, they eventually somehow. Oh, he begins to fade because at this time Kabuto is defeated by defeated by Itachi, but also he is broken out of his loop. He is now rehabilitated, and he breaks the eternal the reanimation jutsu. So here Madara is about to fade, and he's like, nah, I think I'm good.
He says, oh yeah, whoever is casting the jutsu, never cast it lightly. Release. I'm back, baby.
Disrespect on it. So then eventually he reunites with Obito.
Oh no, Obito. This is probably the most diabolical moment. All right, sorry for cutting you off, but here's how it goes. Like, all right, it's Naruto. He been fighting Obito this entire time, right? Then Madara pulls up, and Naruto's like, hold on, what's happened to the five Kage? He's like, the five Kage? If I had to take a gander, and then you see, like, then it cuts over to each of them just splayed out, leaking. Tsunade, the fifth Hokage, is literally cut in half.
Said you're a disgrace for a century.
Yep. And he goes, yeah, I don't think they're doing so well right now. And like, ain't this about oh no.
So basically, from here, it's a lot of Ten Tail shenanigans, whether it be the Ten Tails beast itself, them becoming Jinchuriki. A key moment is the destruction of the Allied HQ during the Ten Tails fight. That was a devastating episode to watch. This whole part, because this part, Neji dying, and then eventually we also touched on with Sasuke pulling up and getting destroyed. But with that, through this time, as you mentioned last week, all the four Hokage have been reanimated. So Madara is like, oh, my boy is back. And
my man's.
So at the time, Hashirama is trying to subdue the Ten Tails, so he sends a clone for Madara. And Madara is like, nah, I want the real thing. Give him to me. Sits down on him.
Look, and each time Hashirama sends like another wood clone, and then you just see like all the wood clones just surrounding Madara, and Madara just sitting there chilling. It's like, I'm gonna wait. Like, none of y'all is worth it. I need my real man's back.
Yeah, so eventually, with this, a lot of different things, but he forces Obito he tries to force Obito to revive him. Obito resists and then seals the Ten Tails inside of himself. So Obito is the Ten Tail Jinchuriki. With that, he's eventually able to defeat Tobirama and then kill Sasuke before becoming Jinchuriki, right?
Oh, we need to
There's a lot in this part where
like
it's
just right in the middle. So
yeah. So
before what he mentioned, spoiler alert. So essentially, like this one, like Obito, he basically gets talk no jutsu'd into being on the side of good, and he's about to use the resurrection jutsu on everybody, and then Madara's like, Zetsu, handle that, and
it's like, nah.
Yeah, and it's because of that forces Obito to resurrect Madara.
Mm-hmm.
And Madara comes back. He loses his Rinnegan because, I mean, his actual Rinnegan, one's in Nagato's dead body and the other's in Obito. So essentially, a blind Madara absorbs Hashirama's Sage mode, and now he's basically able to see again. He 1v No, he 1v7s all the tailed beasts by himself.
Light work.
Because again, like he's back and he's alive again. He's like, yeah, I got blood again. Somehow he got more powerful. Like how? How is it that being dead and immortal is weaker than him being alive? Nah. I call plot.
This whole fight is plot armor for Madara. This whole fight is plot armor for him.
It's like, nah. I call devastating plot because he's out here using the Susanoo without any eyes. And then he manages to get one of his Rinnegan back, the one from Nagato's corpse, able to completely just decimate everyone. He manages to fully be able to extract the 9 tails and 8 tails out, thereby killing Naruto. Yes, Naruto dies in this moment. And then Sasuke comes in. He's like, oh, I sense something familiar about you. But nah, see, you think that will save you just because you in the Uchiha too? Nah, get your own sword through the chest. So yeah, Sasuke dies in this moment.
And then he also got his revenge on Tobirama in this as well.
Just throwing rods in him, like each day, like, yeah, go ahead, take this black rod, boy. I'm about to get you crazy, but
yes. So
yeah.
I think
then that's when he becomes the 10 tails Jinchuriki.
But I think the only thing the Tail Beast somehow managed to take was just an arm with him in this fight. So then he becomes the 10 tails Jinchuriki, activates he's fighting resurrected Naruto and Sasuke, who now have the Sage of the Six Paths powers. That fight ensues. He absorbs the tree.
Also, we cannot forget the beats that Guy gave him.
I was going to mention that, yeah. So, like, he takes Kakashi's Mangekyo Sharingan, and then he also goes up against Guy, who Guy should have won. I mean, he literally fought him away. Like, what are we doing here? The plot armor.
But also, again, Guy should have died in this moment, too.
Yes. But it was actually... Nope.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it was actually really cool because Madara acknowledged Guy, and he was like, hey, instead of you dying from activating the 8 gates, I'm just going to kill you because this is me acknowledging you. So that was definitely a cool moment before, obviously, Guy was saved by Naruto and Sasuke. This is when they get resurrected. So eventually activates the infinite Tsukiyomi, admits to Obito that he played him. And he says he's going to replace the hells of reality with the heavens of dreams, which was a cool quote. And then he gets betrayed.
The only hell that Madara could have.
And then the series ends.
And then it turns out it was all an infinite Tsukiyomi dream of Naruto. All right, Madara won. All right, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap up this episode. Please.
But for the anime and manga, the Black Zetsu stabs him in the back. Kaguya is resurrected. She absorbs all the chakra from the people in the trees. Eventually, after that fight, he gets spit out of the tree. And since he has both the tailed beast and the statue removed, again, he's now a Jinchuriki. If you get your tailed beast removed, it kills you. So now he's dying, and in his dying moments, he kind of concedes to Hashirama that his view of peace is the correct one, and then at the end passes away.
Such a sad end for such a Black Air Force demon of a villain.
All right, so I think the obviously we talked about should he have won. If the way that they wrote him, he probably should have, because it's like what we talked about with Sasuke, like where Sasuke was getting some W's, but he wasn't really defeating the person. He was just there when the person died.
Yeah, Sasuke wins by plot. Madara lost by plot.
Even though he was doing most of his winning by plot. But you're right, the ultimate plot defeated him. So with that, his relationship with Hashirama, we see that to the beginning and the end of his life and how important that was.
Yeah, because as you mentioned, like they had that friendship, they had that go-to mindset, but then it also became like a case of, all right, they are equal. Well, more like Hashirama's the superior, but equals in quotation marks, and they both like really want to embrace peace. It just was unfortunate they're both on opposite sides of the war, and their ideologies differed completely. because again, he followed like an ends justifies the means type deal, while Hashirama was like, nah, we need to do this the right way all the way throughout.
Mhm.
But again, like as you mentioned, like when it came to like him being a fight sexual, when he's that's the best way you can describe it. Like whenever Hashirama was in the picture, Madara wanted to fight him.
Yes. I think what's interesting also, a key plot point towards the end, it kind of ties back into the Sage of the Six Paths, is that the Sage of the Six Paths sons were essentially, their spirit or their will was reincarnating through Madara and then Hashirama, and then it passed on to Sasuke and Naruto. Is that essentially what the story was?
Essentially, like you have Ashura and Indra, who are the sons of the Sage of Six Paths, and each one gets reincarnated like over the course of the years. And as you mentioned, Hashirama was Ashura, Madara was Indra, Naruto was Ashura, Sasuke was Indra.
Mm-hmm.
To where like they would basically be locked in eternal combat until Naruto was finally able to break that reincarnation curse.
Yeah, so with that, they are just, Madara and Hashirama's relationship is a parallel to Naruto and Sasuke, and then as you mentioned with the Sage of the Six Paths sons, where, hey, there's one vision of peace. Well, multiple visions of peace, but they conflict with another. Ultimately, you have the same goal, but one has a lot more blood on the floor, but it's in the pursuit of saying, hey, by choosing the less aggressive path, you're just not going to be able, by giving people free will, you're never going to achieve peace, essentially, with that. So it's crazy. And if you think of the story of the Uchiha kind of connecting them all together, both Madara and Itachi, as I mentioned at the start of the podcast, wanted peace.
Yep.
With Sasuke, he was manipulated. And he initially led a peaceful life. So it's crazy how Naruto just talks about the cycles of this, and that being the main thread and theme of the show.
Yeah, and also a couple of other things is just the fact that like, Madara got manipulated by Zetsu, Sasuke got manipulated by everybody.
That's true.
And was and basically like Indra, like of course the two incarnations of Indra were the ones getting manipulated. And also just the idea of like, you have this is perhaps the only time where you're seeing two reincarnations of the same character fighting each other.
Oh, true.
With Sasuke and Madara, and you're seeing like the way both of their ideologies are differing, especially by this point in the stories. Like Madara thought like, yeah, I can turn Sasuke to my side, but Sasuke was like, no. And it's like, no, the past, aka you, needs to die and be buried. Quoting a much reviled of Star Wars sequels, let the past die, kill it if necessary.
We're gonna move past that. So anything else with his popularity? How do you think his popularity has been, post Naruto?
Oh, people love this guy. Like again, just the pure Black Air Force energy that he exudes is part of the round table after all. Shout out CJ the champ. And just the fact that like he, like, upon his resurrection, he was never on the back foot.
That's true.
And if he was on the back foot, that's because he allowed himself to be on the back foot. AKA guy. Like he allowed himself to get hit with these powerful attacks, knowing that he can regenerate, and the eighth gate will kill himself soon enough. Mm-hmm. But all just for the fact that he loves fighting. He ain't trying to save the day.
No.
All he's trying to do is fight.
Yes. So anything else before we wrap up?
No, just he's again a cold villain who again orchestrated a lot of the events of the series.
Yes. All right. So if you really just enjoyed, listeners, if you enjoyed this Uchiha character study. Let us know any other characters from Naruto that you'd be interested in, similar to this, or characters outside of Naruto. But we've definitely covered, I feel like we've covered like 7 characters out of Naruto alone, just with the character studies showing how great of a show it is. We got to do Kakashi one day.
Yeah.
So with that, we're going to transition to the what's hot. So that is what is popular or new or coming out in anime, TV shows, movies, gaming, and like. So Meech, what do you got?
Oh yeah. Yeah, let me go ahead and pull out the list because the list actually grew since last time.
Jeez.
Because once again, announcements just be coming out the wazoo. So the Konami press showcase came out, right? And in it, well, firstly, Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic fully released by the time you're hearing this video. So it's already out. I am in the midst of watching people play it. Next up, but as for announcements in the showcase, Invincible Versus, which is yes, a fighting game based on the Invincible franchise. And of course, in the trailer for it, Mark Fraudvincible is already just getting the beats.
He's half human. That's not fair.
Yeah, he fighting up against 3 Viltrumites. He still getting the beats in the trailer to his own game. Come on now.
That's bad. That is bad.
He's not even the main character anymore. Next up, Borderlands 4.
Ooh.
Yes, if you're into the Borderlands franchise, that's it. But also, I'm going to put the phone down for this one. Silent Hill, the remake for the first game, just got announced.
Nice.
So yeah, you thought, oh yeah, they're just going to remake Silent Hill 2 because that's the best game. I mean, it's debatable. I mean, you're not completely wrong. I will only argue 4 is up there with it. But Silent Hill 1 is finally getting its just due because that game has basically got nothing apart from the initial game, and then the first movie is basically the first game plus Pyramid Head. But yes, so we're getting a Silent Hill remake. Now,
nice.
As for new announcements in the comic sphere, all things, all Doom, one world under Doom, # Glaze Doom. Also,
there's something I want to add with Invincible. Battle Beast has his own comic, his solo run.
Oh yes, he does. But also, Absolute Bane.
It's here.
Let's just say he was huge, and then it turns out he wasn't even juicing. He was already towering the 6'7", 300-pound Batman. He was already towering over him. He hit him with you're using my Muay Thai? Oh, okay, keep going a little bit. Oh, Sun Tzu, all right, let me pressure point you. And he's like, yeah. And then Batman's like, okay, I may got one leg working, but I can still kick you, you juiced up freak. He said, oh, you thought I was juicing? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me show you what real juicing is. Turns on the Venom, and then he grows bigger.
First of all, Bane knowing pressure points is scary enough.
Yes, he grows big enough to where he's literally grabbing Batman by the neck with 2 fingers.
That's crazy.
2 fingers, and he's holding up Batman like he's a little child. I'm like,
no hope.
No, not this universe is cooked. What does Darkseid have against Batman besides the one time he shot him? Man, all right, let's keep it moving because I'm getting crazy. All right, in the movie realm, Happy Gilmore 2 coming soon. Also, there's another announcement, one that I was not anticipating, but very much loved. We all know my love for Star Wars, right? But
yes.
So when I heard this announcement, I'm like, no, there's no way it's back.
Oh my God.
Spaceballs 3, The Search for Spaceballs 2, The Quest for More Money. Yes, with the same cast coming back.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yes, Spaceballs sequel is finally coming out. I'm crying over here.
That's so funny.
I'm crying, all right. I'm like, now Now I need to pull out my VHS for Spaceballs. All right. Yes, I'm dating myself. I don't care.
Oh my
Also,
gosh.
Fantastic Four and Superman is out. Also, so it's 28 years later. And yeah,
Well, the trailers for those movies.
yeah. Fantastic Four and Superman, they released trailers for that. My bad. Also on TV, Ironheart got yet another trailer. And then anime, it's all the same, vigilantes, Go Loser Ranger, One Piece, hashtag Justice for Kuma, hashtag crash out for Kuma. That's all I'm gonna say. Hashtag the Celestial Dragon. And then finally, one that I haven't done a category for, but I feel like it's one that kind of needs to be added in the realm of music. Lil Wayne dropped the Carter 6.
Woo.
You listen to it?
I've seen reactions. I just know about the elephant thing.
Yep.
Oh boy.
All I have to say is, so this the guy you wanted to play at the Super Bowl?
We'll always have no ceilings.
We'll always have 6 foot, 7 foot.
A million.
Have a Millie. We'll always have Mrs. Officer.
I'll defend him like this. Real G's moving silence like lasagna is in my opinion the best bar in all of history of.
Oh, yeah. I still quote that one to this day.
Yes.
Sometimes I don't finish it because, like, hey, if you know, you know. It's like, hey, Real G's moving silence. Hey, if you know, you know. If you don't, then go learn your history.
Indeed. So anything else?
Nope. What you got?
All right. So you touched on a lot of it. Just with movies, Ballerina, John Wick, part of that world is out. Enjoyed it a lot. How to Train Your Dragon released last week. I might check it out, the live action version. I really loved the first 2 movies. I still need to see the third one, but I'm kind of iffy. See, a part of me wants to see it because I enjoyed How to Train Your Dragon, but another part of me is like, I don't want to be like, man, with all these remakes of live actions, can we please just make something new? I say this, and then I'm going to go to see the new Jurassic Park movie. So with that, just moving on, we have an anime, Lazarus, a new anime on Max, which is really good. Fire Force Season 3, the finale, To Be Hero X. And then in the world of gaming, Call of Duty Black Ops 7 dropped a teaser trailer for that. And then also Squid Game, I believe, comes out the next week of you hearing this podcast.
Yep.
So, oh yes. And then for the other thing that comes out this week, 28 years later, something we'll be delivering a review for.
Absolutely. We have to. And also, I heard some news about this movie, or specifically what comes out later.
Like a different movie, potentially, or what?
They already confirmed a sequel.
Ooh, dang. I wonder what they would call it, because you can't call it 28 months, right?
No. Let's see, if it's 28 years, like what was it? 28 millennium later?
Decades? I mean,
28 decades later, 28 centuries later.
I mean, if it's 28 decades later, I feel like the zombies are going to be our overlords.
All right.
So with that, yes, again, we will be recovering that movie next week, something we are both super excited for. Leading into this, we're going to do our plugs and get up out of here.
All right. So for our Instagram, X formerly known as Twitter and Threads, we're under BlerdCity22. Like, comment, subscribe, stay up to date on all notifications. Go ahead and also give us a like on our YouTube and Patreon, the Blerd City Pod. Yeah, and donate some cheddar, get access to very exclusive episodes never before seen. Enjoy your Father's Day, everyone. Because you will listen to the Why Goku's Not a Bad Dad episode. We also have our Discord linked in said Instagram page. We also have our email, blerdcity22@gmail.com. If you want to send your thoughts on these episodes, you want to send your episode suggestions and all that good jazz, go ahead, send it to us. And if you send any spam mail, any hate mail, goes into the spam folder, never see light of day. Finally, I'm the Jedi Born on Mustafar on Instagram and TikTok. However long we got those left. What you got?
All right, for my individual author pages, we have my Instagram, that is Mitri_Dash, that is METRI_DASH. For my X/Twitter, Twitter. That is at the Mad-16. And if you're interested in my book, Phantom Reckoning, that is available on Amazon, Kindle, and Barnes & Noble. So with how we usually leave it, with some words of encouragement.
All right. So for my words of encouragement, all I say is when it comes to establishing world peace, know that many people all want the same thing. It's just a matter of how to get there. So don't be afraid to sit down and have conversations with people on just how to go about it.
You were going exactly where I was leaving, so I think we can just leave it there. And as we say, it's not goodbye forever, it's just goodbye for now. And that's the Blerd City Podcast.
See ya later.